You're watching Open Agenda. Here's our host, Joe White.
I'm at the Newland Park landfill on the west side of Wicomico County off Brick Kiln Road. I've come here today to meet with Adam Corry, who's the acting superintendent of the landfill. He has explained in public work sessions and at the county executive's press conference some of the challenges he feels the county faces for space in Cell 8, and he's also laid out a timeline for the construction and the implementation of Cell 7. I want to get a chance to find out some of the challenges he's faced in the last 8 months since he's accepted the position here in Wicomico County, and what does he see as some of the potential pitfalls that we may face as we fill up our landfill. Thank you, Mr. Adam Corry, for bringing us in for a tour of the landfill. And who's this with you today?
So this is Ms. Carissa Gortz. She is our new environmental compliance technician.
Let's do an overview of what did we see when we went around the landfill.
You know, where our offices are located, where our brush pile operations are located, our recycling, the interior of our cardboard and baling operations, bimetal, our plastics room and stuff like that. Then we kind of took a look at the convenience center. The convenience center is the one here, main at Brick Kiln, where it's open to the public all days of the week, not just your ones that are out in the satellite communities like the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and partial hours on Sunday. We looked at our waste oil recovery, antifreeze recovery for the public, our recycling material drop off for batteries, things of that nature. And then we started coming across the scales and heading up the hill. We took a look in Cell 7, or what will be Cell 7, talked a little bit about the geotechnical borings that we just completed, the fact that we've made a decision to change our sump design and elevation design as far as where that riser house is going to be, to effectively not eliminate but soften the blow of how much old historic material would have to be excavated out. So we made a minor modification to the design. That decision's been made to try to save some space as well.
Now, you also showed me several areas where you're choosing to strategically use some saddle areas,
Sure,
just to gain even some slight areas, but even maybe some bigger areas, but you have to construct roads.
Correct.
To access those. Is that right?
That's correct. You know, this is the actual color volumetric analysis data that we had done by Maryland Environmental Service, and then collaboratively worked on the analysis with our engineering firm EA to find out where we stood on our total available airspace in cubic yards. And that's how you come up with your volume analysis to say this is how much time you've got. When you see areas that are green on this map, it might be a little deceiving because you say, okay, all those green areas must mean go. They technically do. It's but how much height is actually available when you start taking into account the slopes, the grades, and how do you get the trash to those places. But yeah, you're right. When we took our tour, I showed you like our rear haul road. You know, you build a new rear haul road out of trash. Well, while we're doing that, let's take advantage of filling some of these other benches and saddles that we have airspace in to, again, relieve some of that pressure that's on Cell 8, 9, and 10 in that airspace so that we can, again, buy ourselves more time in preparation for Cell 7. One of the things that we got hit with as soon as I walked in the door was a couple of non-compliance items that had been of concern. This entire 7.25 acres, previous managers of the landfill, when I talked earlier about filling saddles to get space, they filled every one of these saddles from the top all the way to the bottom. Now, good, bad, or indifferent, the challenge that created was this entire front slope was never stabilized. Okay. So the state of Maryland, you know, put it out there for the landfill long before I got here, you're in non-compliance for sediment erosion control and a couple of other things. But I'm really, really proud of our team, what we did here. This was a heck of an undertaking. The Shorebird Stadium was being, that portion of the Shorebird Stadium to the left of the dugout, the old merry-go-round area and all that. Yeah. We ended up getting, I think it was 1,900 cubic yards of, which was primo topsoil from that excavation activity. And they brought it here, and we were able to use it to dress this top. We did air quality monitoring to make sure that we didn't have any methane issues. We found that some of the gas wells here that were on this front slope were not pulling enough vacuum, so you were getting rogue methane emissions, killing the grass that was previously planted and just leaving it everything bare. So the next thing we did, instead of planting this with Kentucky fescue and whatever, we did, I think it was 11 individual native species of wildflower and wild grasses. So,
and those are expensive.
They are, but they hold,
yeah.
And they're native. and we did wild oats as well. And what you see that's brown up here is actually where the oats this is just since April, have already come up, seeded, and gone dry.
Now let's talk about where we're at with cell 8. You are concerned that the increase of 26% that you've witnessed the last couple of years, at that rate, you do feel like it's likely that we'll run out of airspace, at least in cell 8, before cell 7's construction might be complete.
At least in cell 8. So the game plan is to try to stall that as best we possibly can for the benefit of having no closure, no full-blown closure where we have to transport material out of the county. To work again with the council on some good legislation to stop outside trash. If we can control that and get a nice drop, it really helps us buy that time that we need. And again, like I said before, we shouldn't be taking other people's trash anyway. We will be getting very, very close, too close for comfort in cell 8. But again, we do have other strategic locations on the property that we want to put waste in. And if you evaluate those areas and do your best to make sure that you're utilizing that space appropriately, you're going to buy even more time. So the estimate was, 12 to 14 months based on that March flyover. That's your airspace. We can get more waste placed in areas of the landfill. It's just how you get to them.
So cell 7 is going to be the final cell built on this same side of Brick Kiln Road. On the other side of Brick Kiln Road is the expansion.
That's where your horizontal expansion would be.
And that's for future. And you address this at the county executive's press conference that as soon as cell 7 is done, you're starting off with the survey and the engineering.
As soon as the groundbreaking begins, and frankly, as soon as the first frost, we're going to get the additional survey work done. I never want this county to be in this position again.
Where are we at with the design stage of cell 7?
So right now today, and I've got this roll, is a 60% set with the sump placement. That's the most important part. The other portions that are your electrical engineering, your stormwater management, which we made the decisions on here just a month and a half ago, I give or take. It was about a month and a half that we did the decision to move our sump location, our riser house location, to again, not have to be encumbered by that additional historic trash, and utilize a different stormwater pathway. So the stormwater management design, the electrical, and a few other engineering pieces, and then you're at 100% design.
At what point can you put the construction out for request for proposal?
As soon as you have your sign off from the state that your permit is good.
So what's your timeline goal? What do you hope to get the permit signed and that you can put out for proposal?
I would like to be able to have this in their hands as a final design by the first or second week of August.
Okay.
They have a specific review period as far as the days they're allowed to hold it for review. The state has already been very, very kind to say they're going to do their very best to give us an expedited review. Carissa, you've been in constant contact with some of the gentlemen up there in MDE in Baltimore that are going to be overseeing the permit and the construction effort. And we got a very good working relationship with them.
So, Carissa, you've seen the size and scope of the plans and the permits. Is it a lot for a layperson to understand?
To some degree, I would say so, because there's multiple permits I've kind of been involved in since starting here, like our oil operations permit, which we have submitted with MDE, the refuse disposal permit that we're trying to do a resubmittal for, even SPCC, our spill prevention countermeasures control. I've gotten involved in that and working directly with EA and MDE. But like he said, we have a very good relationship with them. Everybody here is great. It's all about trying to make this place better.
Adam, if you are able to put out for proposal in August, as you hope.
Proposal in August for RFP wouldn't be it. So original bidding phase, somewhere around 15 days.
Okay.
The hopes for that would be the first and second week of November. You get your RFIs and review of bids by December 1st, December 5th. And a recommendation of award by the first week of January, and then you've got construction. In a perfect world, you're looking at 85 to 100 days for construction.
Now, do we have the money allocated to build this cell, or will we have? It is in the CIP. Is it going to go to bond? Is this?
It will have to.
Okay. You're hoping for favorable weather, and you can't control weather.
If all goes well based on the timeline that we've put together, your construction would begin effectively late January to early February.
And then about how long does it take to build?
85 to 100 days. Land you the first week of June.
Okay. What's our best case scenario for even using these shoulder areas?
The shoulder areas are going to get eaten up very quickly. but they're so hard to get to. You need to have at least one half of your current staff diverted to another portion of the landfill on every given day.
There's a diminishing return.
There is.
You did the aerial survey, the LiDAR survey in March.
Yep.
I assume you got the results back shortly after that?
April 18th, I believe it was.
If you did know sometime in the spring that there was going to be a shortage of space before Cell 7 was done, why was it that no one really saw the county executive's plan until mid-June?
I want to let her answer that question, honestly,
Okay.
Joe. But to the point of where we stand with our operations, what we need to do. When you identify a problem, how do we fix it? We were trying to have that conversation out there, and at the same time, making game plans like this of what do we need to do to ramp up and really, really force Cell 7 to the forefront.
But you were able to at least express from the acting superintendent's standpoint that there was going to be an airspace problem as soon as April.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we started seeing was things were just not lining up. You know what I mean? Visually on the landfill on a daily basis, if you're here every day and you see it every day, you really will recognize the changing. And even before we did the aerial, you're looking at it and going, this just feels like we're moving too fast. Once you get it confirmed through good scientific data collection and analysis, then you have to come up with a plan. And from the day that we got that analysis, we started working that plan.
When it comes to Cell 7, you had to put in a permit to start that design process, or you had to start the design process. When was the design process started for Cell 7?
We started the design back in, well, it was before April 23rd.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Okay. In an ideal world,
Now,
should it have started sooner?
Previously, the real layout of Cell 7 and the additional permit modifications, I mean, that stuff goes back as far as 2006. You know, one of the other things that the county did, you know, before I got here was we switched our engineering firm from Geosyntec to EA.
Did that delay getting the design phase started for Cell 7?
No.
Was it maybe, could it have been started sooner?
I think, yeah, everything's clear in 2020 vision and hindsight, right?
Absolutely.
But, you know, could it have been started sooner? Sure. Should it have been? I don't necessarily know the warning signs. Again, I just got here in October. The first thing I did for the first 6 months was literally try to get this place back on its feet. And we did that. I'm very proud of that. We have a great crew here. Once we got through that, we really start looking, okay, where's our tonnage? Where's it coming from? How do we look as far as time left? Because again, some of the leadership was under the impression we had a lot more time left in this landfill than we did. Mm-hmm. When you start doing the math and it doesn't add up, you got a problem.
Well, someone in your position, you would be the one to ring the bell to say, hey, listen, there's not enough time left. So
Correct.
Prior to October of 24, you can't speak to that, but it's likely that someone did not ring that alarm bell at least loud enough or hear it.
All I can tell you is about what I'm doing since I've been here. I mean, look, the data speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. You can go back and do the autopsy, and we need to do that, okay, to learn from it.
Yeah.
And again, I'll say it like I said a minute ago, Joe. The county should never be in this position again. And as long as I'm here, we're not going to be in this position again.
At the last county council meeting, listen to one gentleman from Wicomico County. He stated that he had been at there was three
the workshops.
Workshops.
Yeah.
And in none of those workshops he heard about the airspace limitations that you're worried about now.
I've been in attendance to the workshops that Solid Waste has put on, one in November 2024, another March of this year, and I believe I attended another open work session they had in one of these sessions. So I found it really odd watching that press release or press conference that the executive had yesterday. It seemed really misleading. A lot of the statements there, the 10-year plan they submitted, said the landfill was operational for the foreseeable future. I had no indication during any of those workshops or open work sessions that there was some pressing dire need, that we were running out of space so fast. It was not a topic of discussion.
And when you made that comment, I thought, darn it, you know what? He's right, but at the same time, you got to keep something in perspective as far as the spring workshop was concerned. That was March 19th. I didn't have the flyover data back. November and the March workshops, the November 24 and March 25 workshops that we did at the Civic Center, and I appreciate them attending for sure, and they've been very engaged in it. March 19th, 25, I didn't have that data back.
Now, in the county executive's phased plan for closure, on August 1st, or the first Saturday in August, she would have the landfill closing here to commercial, not municipal, but commercial.
Yes.
Do you feel like that would be an effective strategy, or would more trash just simply show up on Monday when the landfill reopens?
I think the idea of phased approach is, again, we're in the conversation, we have to do something because we're in a crisis, right? I think, you know, Director Luffman stated it the other day when we were in front of council, I believe on July 1st, if we can get this legislation right and make it where we are strictly prohibiting outside trash and codifying that, you don't need to go to a phased approach. I don't want the phased approach is tough on people, right? But you got to do something. The concept of a phased approach is you try to get that trash hauler to take it somewhere else. You have some companies that wouldn't be affected by it on a Saturday, really. A Saturday and a Monday, maybe they would be. Would they just be lined up out the gate on a Tuesday? Likely, right? But there's some haulers that can hold on to their trash for more than one day.
But they would still bring you
They'd still
theoretically
bring the trash
same
regardless.
amount. So would you see the perspective from a regular citizen that they're frustrated that they would hear about the phase closure before they heard about the solutions like you're talking about, using the saddle areas, using legislation to ban outside trash? Wouldn't would it make sense to you that that would frustrate the public?
I empathize with it, Joe. I do, and I understand their point. I appreciate the one thing that's come out of all of this is people are talking about the landfill, and I mean that very sincerely. It's an afterthought until it's staring you in the face.
Do you have another public workshop scheduled for?
We have another hauler meeting scheduled in December.
Okay.
And then I would hope to have another fall workshop.
Would you be amicable to sitting down with me again after maybe like sometime in November? And at the very least, we could give the public an update on all of these subjects.
I do want to note some things that we have done outside of operations because you've been doing a great job doing that. I do want to focus a little bit on the science aspects and reporting aspects that we've done because not only has he been doing operational things, he's also been improving all our regulatory and our compliance stuff. So I do want to note some things on that. So the spill prevention control countermeasures plan, we have that right here with EA, our oil operations permit that's been sent in, our refuse disposal resubmittal. And I want to talk about things about
our air permit, our PTC for our Peterson
absolutely.
grinder.
We actually just got that today.
After the fact.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want to talk about our groundwater sampling data that we've been doing. We do a semi-annual with peristaltic pumps, and then I actually do depth to water measurements as well. So we're looking for any material or excessive sediment within the water. And then we have our leachate hauling data that I've been doing reporting on, and the levels of leachate depending on the amount of precip, looking for correlations on that. I do daily riser house readings, which is looking at the input of leachate that we're getting in.
Everything.
Pond inspections. We
Daily cover, leachate.
absolutely looking at the pH, the level of the ponds, excessive sediment as well, leachate seeps, like he said, vegetation. We're looking at the vegetative stabilization on everything. So yes, it's not only
and landfill gas.
yes, absolutely. So not only has he been doing all this operation stuff, but you have to keep in mind, like, we're doing all that in the background that nobody understands, and that's a lot of documentation, a lot of reporting, a lot of data that we've been working with MDE and EA. So it is overwhelming, and it is a lot.
Retention pond, the one that is now broken.
The leachate containment, 2 1 million gallon vessels. See, one of them's empty right now.
Yes.
The only thing that's in that is rainwater right now. Reason being is, just about April, it gave up the ghost. I was, the leachate liners themselves are beyond their design service life. I'm not blaming anybody, but it probably, that should have been looked at a long time ago, 10, 15 years ago for that matter. These were designed for 20 to 5, I believe it was, and they are the original ones. They're from, I want to say 93. Fortunately, we're in good shape right now with the second, but it's the same age as the first. We did an emergency evacuation of that entire thing. We did find where the leak was. Fortunately, when that happened, and of course everything happens in the middle of the night, during a storm. A storm will test your landfill.
Yeah.
From sediment erosion control to wet wells to pumps, your leachate containment obviously. So when that occurred, fortunately, the leak detection box and the leak detection sump did its job.
Okay.
Right, it did not leak into our secondary containment. All around the exterior of those two vessels, that whole bowl of kind of grassy stone is a whole nother secondary line containment area. So fortunately, when that leak did occur, it was captured into the leak detection sump, that went into alarm, and then our team, along with, I got to give credit where credit's due, the roads division, those guys, gave us drivers for as much time as we needed, and the city of Salisbury was just great to allow us to run some additional loads of leachate until we were able to get that leachate level down to empty. The original manufacturer, designer, who's still in business, is preparing us a new liner right now.
Now, when you all need to replace a liner like that, you have the financial ability to do that. You don't have to wait, or do you have to?
We had to wait till the new fiscal year for this one. Yeah,
Just wasn't enough money in the budget.
There just wasn't enough money in the budget.
The secondary spill held and the sub pump worked, the alarm went off, but you don't have another backup now.
Nope.
So if that one goes out,
Yep. Yeah, you got a problem.
now we have a bigger problem.
And that liner, just the liner, is $168,000.
But $168,000 is a lot cheaper than the millions it would cost
Can you
if
imagine?
that.
Can you imagine what the environmental cleanup would be?
Yeah.
If we lost 1 million gallons of leachate into Owens Branch.
All right. Well, thank you. Can I get some of the pictures of some of this stuff?
The other cool thing about working here, it's a nice stress reliever at the end of the day, like 4 o'clock, shut the computer down. I'm usually pretty much on the hill all day long. I'll try to get in the office an hour or two at a time. But at like 4 o'clock, if I'm, squared away on the computer, I come up here, jump in a piece of equipment and start working.
Yeah, play with the big toys.
It's a great stress reliever.
Yeah.
November of 24, we started our drawings and planning to figure out what our figures were going to be, and we had to determine, was the juice going to be worth the squeeze to make a large turnaround up here and have to cut out of that berm and move that material down in the cells. When I started looking at the waste calculations, I'm like, I don't think we should be doing that. Let's move this a little differently and start placing material down into areas that still have permitted airspace and filling these old saddles that are down in here. The issue is, how do you get to it?
Okay.
Without dropping it in there with a helicopter.
Yeah.
You're not going to back it.
You're allowed to go up, but you have to get out there to do it.
I got to get out there to do it, and I also have to make sure I don't exceed certain slopes, and I can't mess that final grade. But trying to get as much use out of that space that we have down here to prevent running out of space here is the goal. Down on is the actual unlined old portions of the landfill, right? The Civic Center, the old Civic Center that burned down, is actually over there, that first hump, all the way as far as you can see.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. A little bit of history there.
Yeah.
But
So are we standing on top of here? Is this 10?
no. This be 6, or like in between 6 and 4. Yeah.
And then 9 and 10 are in front of us?
Once you get past that hump.
Okay. Can you use this saddle area?
Portion of it. We're gaining that elevation there. As we come across with our waste placement to come to that elevation, the goal would be to go back one more time.
Okay.
That'll probably get us to 6.5 months from now, give or take. At that point, you want to have things rocking and rolling, because the goal is to have cell 7 constructed by May or June. That's the goal. Approval by the state. Of course, they already have preliminary approval because it's the last cell of the footprint. They expected it, and it's almost identical to cell 8. Is to have that to them, first week of August. Okay.
Okay.
It's
less than 4 weeks away.
Is to get that to them first week of August, the second week of August. That's the goal. So while that comes along, again, 6 months from today, give or take, is when we start gaining elevation to this portion here where there's still airspace around cells 6.
Where'd you go to school?
Salisbury.
What was your degree in there?
Environmental health science.
Okay.
I was the last class, and they got rid of the degree.
Okay.
So my class, it was me and about 5 other guys that worked for the state that were licensed environmental health specialists. This Salisbury University, my uncle, who worked for Maryland Department of Environment, retired with 41 years of state service, same degree. He became a licensed environmental health specialist, and he was my icon. He's the reason I got into the field I got into, was because of him. I always worked with him since I was a kid on his Christmas tree farm there in Delmar on Mine Road.
Oh, yeah.
I always loved listening to Uncle Jay tell me stories about his experiences with the state, and I decided that's what I wanted to do. So it's unfortunate that Salisbury University did not have a high enough enrollment. I want to make it right for the county. That's all I can tell you. And it's not easy, but we're going to do it, man. We don't have a choice. We either do it or we don't.